What's up, guys? Thanks so much for tuning in. We are on episode 2 of For the Girls podcast, brought to you by Relationship Restored. And I want to bring this episode in with an old song that is definitely connected to our topic. So, INDEPENDENT. Do you know what you mean? Do you know what you mean? Do you know?
Oh, Lord, we knew she was going to mess that up.
Y'all get it. Did she spell it right? I did spell it right, but then I said, do you know what yo mean? That's
okay.
Not how that part goes.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, move past it.
We're talking about being submissive as an independent woman, because this is hard.
Girl,
it is
the most difficult task.
Yes.
So who wants to kick it off?
Like, nigga, what?
I mean, we all met our men independent. You were running your own businesses.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were in that financial.
Oh yeah, girl. I was not thinking about no man.
Yes, and I was over here, in the
what
thick
were you
of
doing,
my.
Angela? She's like,
Well, because the first thing I thought about was my apartment. Like, I had my apartment, right? It wasn't by myself. I had a roommate. However, like the year after I met him, I moved by myself. Mm-hmm. But I was in the thick of my teaching career. Mm-hmm. So like at that point, I had my own money, my own bills. You know, mama done kicked you off the cell phone plan at that point. Mm-hmm. You got your own health insurance.
I stayed on my daddy's cell phone plan for a long time.
You got your own health insurance. You got a car. Like, you out here being a grown woman. And you're independent and you get used to depending on yourself. Boom, here comes a man.
Yeah.
And he wants you to let him handle some things. It's like, whoa. That's wrong. Okay. You didn't pay that bill when it was supposed to be paid. Yeah. No, I paid it on time. No, it's supposed to be paid 3 days earlier. Like, you gotta start compromising at this point.
Yeah.
So what was your upbringing like to get you to like the stage of your independence? Like, how did you navigate that and like to get there?
Well, okay. So my husband always says I am the female version of my father. So tell us
about daddy.
Let's talk about daddy. We love daddy. Daddy is he is currently the patriarch of our family. My grandfather has passed, my uncle has passed, but going back, my dad was the CEO of the bus company in the Tidewater area. Oh. So he was a boss. Oh. And, you know, my mom, she's successful in her own right, but I mean, she's Asian. She's Filipino.
And your dad's black.
My dad's black. So, I mean, put 2 + 2, you know, she was always submitting to him and in ways that I still don't agree with till this day.
Yeah, same.
But you know, that's their marriage. It's not my marriage.
Yeah.
But you know, I definitely saw someone who regulated everything to the point when he retired, it was difficult because he had nobody to regulate. Took care of all the bills, bought cars, taught us how to drive, but always instilled into his daughters, because he is a father of 4 daughters.
Good Lord.
Exactly. You need to take care of yourself. So, all right, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to do and be a hard worker. Like, those were his biggest things. You need to be able to take care of yourself and be a hard worker. That's exactly what I did. Yeah. Exactly what I did. And like going through school, high school, I always was trying to get leadership positions because that's just what I thought I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then I became a teacher where I'm controlling
all these little young minds.
All these little young people, you know? And then I meet my husband who doesn't want to be controlled. And in his own right, duh, who wants to be controlled?
I mean, he's a man. He's a man.
Talk about your upbringing, Cece.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think what like led to my independence is seeing how my mom was very submissive to a fault to my father. So like my mom is Mexican. She is the product of an immigrant family. And growing up in Mexico, my mom is the oldest of 5 kids, and they were poor their entire upbringing. And so traditional like Mexican women, especially if you're the oldest, you're basically like the mom of the family. Matriarch. Like my mom grew up in a house with 13 other kids. Like it was like a blended, like my grandmother's sister also lived in the house with all of their kids. Like that's just how like old school Mexicans roll. So my mom struggled to find her voice like growing up, and like my grandfather was definitely like not like the kindest man, and very controlling to my mother and like all her sisters. And so my mom tried to escape that when she was 18 and by joining the Air Force, and then met my father in the Air Force. And then they met like super young at like 23. They got married, she got pregnant. So like my mom like never really like found an opportunity to discover her own voice. And so like my father is also kind of similar to like my grandfather, like not as harsh, but definitely like controlling and everything. Yeah. So like long story short, like my mom never had an opportunity to have her own independence. My dad's the breadwinner. My dad is a character all on his own, and my mom struggles to find her voice. She is sweet as pie. She's like Mother Teresa. She's truly an angel walking on this earth. But she doesn't have the strongest backbone. And so like seeing my mom be like that growing up and like people like take advantage of her, that made me want to be hyper independent. Like hyper opposite of like what my mom was. And so I always wanted my own money. No man could tell me what to do. Nobody couldn't control me. But I took that and like ran so far left with it that like, like it became very toxic. Like toxic independence. Like I was like I am the captain now. Right, like I wear the pants. Right. In any relationship I was in. And so, I mean, I think that, you know, now I'm more balanced and I allow my man to take the lead, because also my man is hyper alpha. Like Shane don't play. So it makes it easier to like allow him to lead, because I'm just kind of like, okay. But also he knows that like if he's doing something that I don't agree with, like I have no problem checking him. And you know, and it has nothing to do with like money or anything, because my man makes 5 times more than I do. You know, but it's just about like I have my own voice and I know when to voice it and like when to be like, no, Shane's gonna take the lead on this. So
ooh, and that's interesting because so Angela's like, you took after your dad. Cece, you watched your mom and you worked really hard to be opposite. I'm just like my mom, and the difference is like your parents, both of you are married. My mom was never married until she was like 52, and that lasted for like 5 years, and now she's divorced. And so I was raised in a space where it was always me, my mom, and my aunt and her kids. We always lived together in like our grandparents' house or like a friend of the family's house.
So you always lived with your aunt as well?
Yeah, until we were like older. So like I was always with my cousins, and then when my brother came along, that's pretty much when like we started to live separately, because my mom was dating my brother's dad. But so I grew up in the same household as my cousin. So imagine having not only my mom, who is like single, taking care of me, but then her sister, my aunt, who their dad was in and out, but they weren't like together. So like he would be there sometimes and then like not for long periods of times. And so as I got older, my mom was dating a lot, and there was always different guys in and out, but my mom never had a guy pay for anything. So there's been times where guys stayed and lived with us, but my mom was paying all the bills.
What?
Like, she would always like have to spend money on just stupid stuff when it comes like taking care.
Were they broke?
Well, I don't know. I mean, all I know is I always saw my mom putting out for others. Like she was always the person who was taking care of everything. So
and then she took like foster.
Yes. So we had foster kids, and
which
like
is amazing, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
Really the reason why I want to adopt, but also it put a lot of pressure on me. I was the oldest. So I was always the oldest of like 6 kids. And then my brothers
mom.
and
you have
sisters,
to adopt like a motherly.
Yeah. And I had to grow up really quick. And like I was always babysitting. I started working at 14, and and was like literally, I've had a full-time job ever since I was 14 years old. So
Wow.
it's like I've been overly independent because I just wanted to like make my mom proud and like show her like you didn't raise a lazy person. And it's like I could do this too. Luckily, I grew out of working hard and I now work smart, and I'm not like a laborer because that's a lot. But so that's like all of our dynamics, which is really different. So but at the end of the day, we were all three of us super independent. So let's talk about one, what the true meaning of submission is, because I was confused at first and I was like, who is this guy asked me to submit to him? I'm not your slave. Like I really thought of submission as a bad thing.
Yeah.
So what do you guys feel?
It can be.
It definitely
painted as a
can
bad
be.
thing,
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah.
think it is. Me and my husband talk about this a lot, and to us, submission equates respect, mutual respect,
Ooh, yeah.
And compromise, selflessness, and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is our definition. I know there's different definitions, but it's so difficult to let go and give control to someone when you don't have respect or trust for them.
Yes.
Yes. And so once you can do that, then it's like, okay, I can compromise.
Mm-hmm.
You can take the role, you can take the leadership role on all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do it. The hardest thing for us was you're leading the household. Mm-hmm. And, I know there's different definitions in different homes. In our home, Sean is the leader of our household.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the day, his decision goes. But before he gets to that decision, I have to give the green light on everything before it gets there. And that's our definition of submission.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's super healthy. Like that. I mean, at the end of the day, I thought submission was
being a slave.
Well, like literally just like doing whatever the man says.
Yes, daddy.
Or
yes, daddy.
yeah, like not having choices and not having a say. And when I met Dre and we kind of started like pre-marriage counseling, that's when I really learned the true definition of submission. And I was actually submitting to Dre before I even knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, so to what you said, trust and like respect and knowing that, and this is what helped me with the definition, is knowing that your person that you're submitting to always prioritizes you and your well-being first. So they're never making decisions that are going to harm you or hurt you. It's always for the benefit of you and your unity.
Yeah.
And that helped me because I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So submitting just means telling someone, I love you, I trust you, I respect you.
Yeah.
And I know that you love, respect, and trust me as well. And that we together are making decisions that are beneficial for our life, but you are the leader of our household, meaning it is your responsibility as a man to lead, to guide, to protect, and to make choices that are for our benefit.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. I mean,
what about you, Cece?
Going back to like the trust thing and like the respect, I think for me, I never even thought about submitting to a man before Shane. And it was because I didn't respect any of the men that I was in a situationship. Like I knew what our situationship was. So how can I respect that? Because it was toxic.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to like pin no respect on this. Like it is what it is. And if you don't like it, then bye.
Yeah.
I'll find another one. So like that's how I was navigating it. But when I met Shane, like he is such a natural leader that I like, for me, like submission is just more about like wanting to follow his lead because that man's going somewhere and whatever road he's taking, I want to come to.
Because you trust him.
Because I trust him.
Yeah.
And I value him. Like my man teaches me so much. He is honestly like my coach. He's my advisor. He teaches me so much, and I want to follow someone like that.
Yeah.
And so I respect him, and it makes it so easy for me to submit to him because I value the road that we're taking. I know he's also he thinks things out. I think that people who are like doctors, lawyers, like that type of like analytical mind. Like they're very calculated. And so like I know that like when Shane does something, he doesn't like do it off of a whim. He's like, he thought about it for a long time. And I just value that and I respect that. And I trust him. Like I will follow that man blindfold and know that he is going to lead us to the promised land. Okay.
And that's so important because at the end of the day, submission was created for marriage, not for dating.
Yes.
You're not supposed to submit to your boyfriend.
To these jokers in the streets.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's where people get it confused because you're supposed to submit to the right man.
Yeah.
And God says submit to your husband.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that in the dating phase and engagement that you're not submissive, but it's just a different level when it comes to marriage. Yeah. You have to choose the right person to submit to. That's the only way that it works. Because
and then that's why I go back to when you're dating, don't date someone you're dating seriously. Don't date someone you're not going to marry.
Yeah.
Because you have to start learning how to submit to them.
Yes.
Don't waste your time in that. Don't submit to somebody you don't respect.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't respect him enough to marry him.
So
just
keep it pushing.
Keep it pushing.
Keep it pushing. Like,
Yeah. No, totally. Now, okay, let's bring this up. Our men knew who we were. They knew that we were independent. Do you think it scared them?
Hell no.
yeah, I would say not at all.
My man loves it.
I think my man he's super attracted to it.
He loves it. Like even like just like doing this, right? Like first of all, when Shane met, I've always been an over the top extra ass girl, right?
Me too.
And so Shane knew that coming in. Like when he approached me, I was in a space where I was in front of the room talking about investments and talking about money, and I was already like I was just moving different.
Yeah.
And so that attracted that was attractive to him. Right. So no, I think he loves it. So he loves that I lead. He loves that I'm independent. He loves that I take charge, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go work and try to do big things for myself. I need you to stay at home with the baby. You're on daddy duty today. And he don't have no problem doing that.
They're both on daddy duty.
They're both on daddy duty today, and he don't have no problem doing that because of the type of man he is, and also because of his upbringing. He grew up in a loving, healthy relationship. His parents are still together, and they are in their 70s, living their best life, honey. Okay, they are so fly, so much fun. So he grew up in a healthy environment. He knows what that looks like. So. No, he couldn't be with some weak shorty who was just like, yes, Shane, yes, Shane. No, he likes the fact that I push back. Yeah. He likes it, but he also knows that like he knows that I know when to fall in line.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like it's a fine balance, but yeah, he knows that I'm not
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say for me, I was all over the place. In terms of my independence wasn't the smartest. Like I wasn't making decisions that were in my best interest. So imagine Dre coming into like this overly independent person who's making not the best of decisions, but he was not scared because I was very vocal about the fact that I knew I wasn't making the best decisions. And I had reasons for my bad decisions. Like if you have two options, bad or worse, it's still going to be a bad decision if neither of them are great options. Like I was in really tough situations that most people my age don't have to ever deal with. And so at that point, it's like, well, what do? Make a worse or bad? Either way, they're bad. So we're just going to take this lesser bad option because at this point, there's no way out. So it's like, what do? So he was very very comfortable with understanding that like, I know Bree is not like perfect. She's not in a space where like necessarily her independence is a good thing. But he never questioned me letting go of that independence. Like in a sense of, I know I'm not making I know I'm not making the best decisions. I want to be in a better financial situation. I want to work as a team. And like, I am totally okay with saying I'm wrong and this wasn't right. And like knowing that, yeah, you're a better decision maker than me. We can just say that. And, you know what I mean? So that was mine. What about you, Angela?
So, okay. Opposite from Shane. Sean is super introverted. He has like social anxiety. He does not want to lead. That is just not him. He completely opposite of alpha male.
Mm-hmm.
However, you know, he wants to do that. Like it's in him. So when he met me, he definitely saw, he said it was something different about me, and he couldn't like let go of it, whatever it was. I still don't, he's explained it to me. I still don't understand it. But he said it was that mixture of how energetic I am, how I can kind of organize and control things in a certain way. And
the teacher in you.
The teacher in me. So he was super attracted to it. And I know he has said, you know, that's just something he's never wanted, is someone who's going to be like, yes, or do whatever he wants for them. He said, you know,
because it's two of like same.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not naturally like that, so I need someone who's going to bring it out of me.
Yeah. He said in the past that made him lose interest in other
snooze
females.
alert. Like bored. I'm bored.
And then of course I'm super like all the time.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
okay.
So that I think that was a big thing for why he was attracted to me, was because of my you know?
Yeah, it's like, ooh, exciting.
Now, I will say, I'm not gonna lie, it's brought up disagreements that we had.
for sure.
What about y'all? Like, you not submitting, or you not letting him, not letting the ring, has that brought up?
We haven't had that issue yet.
I have a story for y'all.
We have. Okay, go Cece and Shay.
I know, right?
So can't relate. Bree, you
Okay.
And Cece knows this story very well. So Dre and I, when we first were living together, we lived in a studio apartment. Honey, it was real. I mean, like,
cute though.
Literally, like,
I remember that's
buckets being slid from under the bed with clothes. I used to put some of my shoes in the kitchen
real cute,
cabinets.
though.
Like,
made it real cute.
Oh my Lord, the space, it was so tiny. So there was a moment where my submission was definitely tested, and I kind of failed the test. And then, like,
you told me the story too. I remember this.
So what happened is that I felt so strongly about moving. I was like, I work too hard to live in a place that I don't feel comfortable, that I don't feel rewarded, that I don't feel inspired by. Like, I wake up and I'm like, why am I still here? Looking at money coming in, and I'm like, look at this rent. Like, we can get money. Something so much better. So to make a long story short, you know, I presented all the reasons of why I needed to move. And I was at a point where I was like, well, I'm going to go with or without you. And that really like took Dre aback. Like, we are building together. We are literally at this point, we were already engaged, and like we had lived together for like 2 years. And I just remember like storming out and leaving and going to church, and I was with Callie and you, right? It was the
women's night?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I cried, and like I ended up having to leave because we called an emergency counseling session, like because Dre was seriously not going to like move. And we were almost not gonna break up for real, but I was like, I will leave you.
I'm questioning my decisions with you.
You were in the moment.
I was struggling
Anger.
so bad.
Yeah.
And what I had to learn, because Dre, like, you know, we kind of like had our first little like cry together, where he just was like, I need you to just trust me, like just trust me, like and he was just so like emotional, and I'm just like, I don't know what it was, but like I just felt like the whole world crashing down on me. And like I just remember crying and just being like, I trust you. And I went to bed so angry, and I woke up so angry, and I was like, am I this girl who's just gonna like not do something that I know I want and need and technically deserve because my guy says no? And what ended up happening is that we did get that apartment, but we got it differently. And in the way that we got it, had we have gotten it when I wanted it, we would have never been blessed with what we now have, which, you know, we had a very just, I mean, out of this world blessing because we waited. And we still got that apartment. We didn't get it right then and there. We had to wait a little bit, but it came with a discount on our rent. It came with different things, you know, when you get new apartments, free parking or this or that. It worked out so perfectly. And the timing was great because I trusted him, and he he knew I wanted to move.
Yeah, can we talk about that a little bit more? I have to give my kudos to DeAndre because you guys have actually had a number of situations where Bree wanted something and Dre was like, not right now, Bree.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to just trust me. Like, not right now. Or, no, we don't need to do that. Or it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, that definitely happens a lot with you guys. Like, I know for me, I hate being told no. And Shane very rarely, if ever, tells me no. Because it's never a no. It's just not right now.
Yeah.
So, like,
I take not right now as a no, and I get very flustered.
Spoiled.
Dre's in the corner laughing.
So how have you done better with that? Because Bree is very like, no shade. I say this with love, but you can be a little bratty sometimes.
Fully.
So
I'm a huge brat.
So how have you like done better with that?
So what's funny is the way that I have to learn, I have to go through things. And Dre has allowed me and given me the space to, instead of just literally being like, no, knowing that he would say, you know what, I'll allow it. Or it's like, you know what, go ahead. Knowing that I'm going to do something that is going to harm me. And I'm going to be like, dang, I should have listened to you. But it's needed, because if I just constantly came into the marriage just yes, and no, then it's not allowing me to grow. And I'm going to regret some things and feel like I should have did this, right? You know?
I mean,
So
they're
some
usually
things-
always right.
Yeah. And
Like,
that's
the
I
sucky part.
have to give Dre his flowers. He's usually almost always right.
But this is why
They are though, right? That's the sucky part.
Yeah.
the key is literally trusting and submitting to the right man, because they need to know how to specifically lead you. So the way that if you were dating Dre, he would lead you totally different.
Yeah.
If Shane was leading me, he would have to lead me totally different.
I don't think Shane would have the patience.
No, well, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work at all, because he's not my person.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
that's the thing, is like, if you're submitting to the wrong person, it's not going to work, because the person has to care and love for you so deeply that even sometimes that means letting you make your own decisions. Same thing with parenting. It's like, you got to let your kids fail sometimes so that they can learn. If they don't fail, how would they possibly learn themselves and really grow?
Yeah.
So because we're a lot younger, like, you know, Dre and Shane are 10 years apart in age, our situation is going to look totally different.
Yeah.
And then also looking at just upbringing and whatnot, from me being my own boss since I was 19, my brattiness comes from, like, I've worked really hard to like be in this space where like no one gets to dictate what I do. And it's like, and that's not right. It's not like, oh yeah, because you did that, you deserve to be a brat. But that, I know where it comes from. To answer your question, I just check myself a lot easier now. And I also don't take offense when Dre tells me about myself, which in the very beginning, my anger, I'm like, you said what? You talking to me? Let me tell you.
Brianna is from Cleveland. Okay, she did not play.
It pops out. It pops out. A 2 and 6. Ooh, woosah. But yeah, so that's definitely a thing. Have you ever, Angela, been in a situation where you were like kind of forced, I guess, in not wanting to take or allow Sean to take the lead? And then, like, what did that look like?
100%. And this is probably different from both of y'all. I met Sean when he had a kid.
Yeah.
I had to completely 100% let go of full control with that.
Yeah.
Because Amari's had a mom. And they were having their issues. The whole time, Sean was saying exactly what Dre was saying to you. Trust me, Angela. Trust me. And I would say what helped me to submit is how he behaved, how he handled it, how he handled me, how, you know, empathetic, and the space he gave me to be vulnerable. You know, let's get real basic here. I was very much no ex conversations when I met Sean.
Yeah. It's like, girl, that's not even realistic.
Yes, I can't.
Like,
I was a jealous bitch, all of that.
Oh, yeah, girl, I'm jealous too.
And then I meet a man with a kid, someone who has to talk to his ex every day.
Yeah.
Oh my God, God was like, here you go.
Right. So on today's exam,
God was like, here you go. And
you can be tested with.
I mean, we weren't perfect. We weren't perfect then. you know, Sean and the mother of his kid, not perfect, you know, but, you know, I trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
I trusted him, and they have an amazing co-parenting situation. And I love the mother of my bonus son so much. Like, and now it's like and it took a lot of work, everyone. A lot of work. Amarius is 8. I met him I met Sean when Amarius was 1. 7 years of work.
Yeah.
Lots of communication, lots of, oh my God, you gotta trust him, Angela. You gotta let him lead this. Like, I had so many opinions. I wanted him to do it this way. I wanted him to do it that way. But it was just honestly you know where I got the best advice on from that? Because I didn't have any friends going through the same situation.
Yeah, it's very unique.
My mother.
Did your father have?
He had 3 kids.
Oh.
To the point, I think, when my mom came with my dad from Saudi Arabia, because that's where they met, I think my sibling's mother like called her. I was like, you're just trying to get over here to get into the U.S. type situation.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But, you know, my mom always said, like, let him handle it and you trust him.
What's the age difference between your parents?
Between what?
Your parents.
My parents. My mom is 3 years younger than my dad.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're not that big of a difference. But yeah, I mean, and I didn't have any friends going through this situation. Like, I was the only one dating a man with a kid. Yeah. And everybody's like, there's other men, but it was
he's my person.
It's the way he was showing me.
Yes.
So it allowed me to respect.
They will prove it.
It allowed me to respect him, and it allowed me to completely trust him. And let him lead.
Yeah.
And honey, again, we're not perfect, but I can call Marius's mom now. And when Sean and his son get into it, this is the last Sean and his son got into it. Like, Sean was so frustrated. Like, I went in there and asked what was going on to his son. And I FaceTimed his mother. Like, a lot of people can't do that. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't have been like that if I didn't let Sean handle it and trust him. Mm-hmm. But I had so many ideas on how it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Especially as a teacher.
And especially of, I was the daughter of a man who did not have a good co-parenting situation with my siblings. So in my head, it was supposed to be hate the whole time.
Yeah.
Hate, you don't talk to her. Yeah. Y'all communicate through an email, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Especially if you can sit back, trust, and let him lead. And that was like probably the very first situation where I had to be like, oh my God, you have to let him do this, Angela. He's not going to do it your way. Yeah. And then there's many other times, like right now we're going through this process of we bought a house. Like, oh my God, it was so irritating.
Ideas, and it's like, no, we're going to do it my way.
Right. Oh my gosh, like I want to paint it this way. I want to do it this way. I want to do it that way.
Like, trust me, my taste is better.
Okay. Thank you, honey. But I don't know if we're in the horoscopes, but he's super Virgo man all the way. Like, he like so calculated, and I'm super impulsive. Like, I want it now. I want it this way. I want it that way. Yeah. And then he's like, Angela, A, we don't have the money. That's A. B, where you getting the money? And C, not right now.
Yeah. So what are the things that allows you as a woman to know when somebody is worth submitting to?
Again, it's how they show.
Because I was gonna say, I feel like for me, the number one, it's all about action. Yeah. And I think for me, and y'all can let me know if this is different for you all, but like there was never a moment where I doubted following Dre or letting him lead me.
Never.
So I think that's a big way to know, like, if there's ever doubt or if something happens or if you are questioning their motives or if you don't feel aligned, like those are all things that let you know that's not the person that you're supposed to be following. Yeah. So I just never had doubts. You guys either, right?
No, never. I mean, you know, it's so cliche. It's like, trust your gut. Like, we get it. Yeah. But I think
we get it.
like I think that there's definitely some truth to that. Like, any other dude that I would allow in my space temporarily, like, my gut was always like, nah, he ain't it, girl. Yeah. But go ahead and have your little fun. Yeah. You know? But when I met Shane, there was no question. But he like stepped up and like he showed me without me having to like tell him like he wanted me around, and he made it very clear that he wanted me around. Like I didn't have to be like, please, you want me around, right? Like prove it to me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to like try to like pull teeth to like have him show me that he was about the kid. Like like he was very much so like, oh, I'm about this. Like, oh, all this Afro Latina, like loud, like I like that.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was gonna say, and we've said this like in my school, like trust comes before obedience. Like submission is earned. And even like as a teacher, like, you know, kids are gonna listen to you if they feel it and they trust it. Like they your own children, if they trust you, it's a different type of experience. And you can bring that into relationships. Like trust is so important and so key to that, and respect, because I think, again, submission is earned. And not that I had a doubt, because I never had a doubt, because Sean always proved it to me. But in the beginning, I'm like, who are you? Like, he had to earn it. And he earned it. He never swayed away from it. He was always very intentional about showing who he was and who he was to me. And that, hey, you can follow me, you can trust me, because I'm gonna keep my word. So yeah. What about you, Bree?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was learning myself and knowing what I need, and then seeing that the person that I was going to allow myself to submit to meets those needs and challenges me in a way to where I don't feel attacked, but it like evokes growth. And for Dre, everything that he would say to me, anything that he would do, always aligned with what I prayed for and what I asked for. Like, I want a best friend who is going to, you know, like push me to be my best version of myself, which sometimes means checking myself and, you know, getting out of my bratty ways and things. So the thing that made me be like, oh, I can totally follow this person is that I felt everything that he did was always out of love and the best interest for me. So I think all of what we said, right? It's like, one, the natural instinct that the man has, that he's taking that leadership role to the point where you kind of are just following anyways, you don't even realize. And then you're like, oh shoot. Second, the actions, following somebody who always shows up, not with words, but with intent and with action, because that is huge.
Oh, girl, yeah, because
huge.
A lot of dudes can talk a good game,
Actually
talk a real
speak
good,
way louder than
way
words.
louder.
Yeah. So when I read this book, it was called Secrets of an Irresistible Woman by Michelle McCammon.
I remember you telling me
that's
about this
what it
book
is.
like when we first became friends. You were like, you guys, you should read this.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good. And what it talked about, I was like, makes a lot of sense. Is as a woman, why sometimes we struggle to find a man to submit to in the first place, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you find the right man? And she had this story about how a dandelion like grew and was just kind of, you know, swaying in the wind, and somebody walking along the path of that dandelion saw it, picked it up, and how as women, if we
that's a dandelion, right?
The one that you blow. Cece was blowing, for those of you who can't
She was
see
like,
her.
hold on 1 second. Was that the right plant?
So it was basically an analogy that talks about how as women, if you just focus on growth, like watering your seeds and like looking in the mirror and checking yourself and growing closer to God, if you just do what you're supposed to do, the right man will come across your path and will pick you up and take the best care of you. But if you're out here, like if that dandelion was blowing itself and little pieces of it was going left and right and it's like searching for a home, then sooner or later that dandelion is left with nothing on it. It's just a stem.
Yeah.
And now the person walking by isn't even going to notice it.
You
Like, and I made this up. She ain't say that. That's me.
So Bree, when is your book coming out?
Right.
This is a shameless me plug.
Right. Available
Join
for
Bree's
purchase
masterclass because she will
on-
teach you about all of these concepts of thought.
You don't want to be a stem. Nobody wants a stem.
Yes.
They want a flower.
They want a flower.
So that's what I would suggest too, is like, you know, if you're single, and you can't even be thinking about submitting to who? Like, you have to find the right person, and in order to find the right person, you got to find yourself and let that person find you.
Period.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
I think that was a good end.
I think so.
We hit him with the 3 periods. Like at that point, grab your wine, drink it, and that's on period.
And that's on period. Thank you guys so much for tuning in wherever you're tuning in from. If you are on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts on what upcoming topics we could talk about. In order to follow us and stay connected, go to Relationship Restored. We're all tagged. You can find us there. And until next time, boo.